Cinema Worms.
Discussing everything from Grima Wormtongue to the Shy Halib.
I'm Sabib.
And I'm Linz.
And this is Cinema Worms Podcast.
We're gonna cut that that out of the start. Okay, today we're going to be talking about The Bride, written and directed by actor Maggie Gyllenhaal, who also directed The Lost Daughter. This is, if I dare be so pithily succinct, just sort of a Bonnie and Clyde meets Frankenstein affair. The movie features one of our favourite actresses, cat hater Jessie Buckley, who I've loved since I saw her in 2017's Beast with your screen boyfriend, Johnny Flynn. She wowed us with completely different performances in Men, her Oscar-nommed Hamnet, and Wicked Little Letters with Olivia Colman, and much more. And opposite her in this film, we've got Christian Bale, who has had his pick of just a wide range of lead roles, from American Psycho to Batman to being, if you remember, Gore the God Butcher in 2022's Thor Love and Thunder. It is sort of the most forgettable of the Thors, but he was good.
Decently fun.
Yeah, because mostly because of Bale, to be honest. We've also got in this film John Magaro, who you'll probably recognise from being in Orange is the New Black, and also the first season of The Umbrella Academy, as well as Penelope Cruz, Peter Skarsgård. You can run, but you cannot hide from the horde of Skarsgårds. They are everywhere in all the movie theatres all the time. Honestly, I like it. I'm okay being surrounded by Skarsgårds.
He's not the son of the other Skarsgård, but the joke is that he has a Skarsgård.
He's an honorary. he is a Skarsgård, and therefore
we say we like it. It's a thing.
He's adopted. Don't tell him that. He doesn't know. And of course, the brother of the director, Jake Gyllenhaal, is playing a sort of old movie star called Ronnie Reed, who Frankenstein is obsessed with because Reed symbolises all the thing Frank wants: to be handsome, to be debonair, to successfully woo the leading lady in black and white and get her to fall in love with you. Now, the trailer makes this film look so fun. And the words of, famous sexy spy Austin Powers, this film looked like exactly my bag, baby, but unfortunately that turned out not to be the case. I think the main issues here, apart from quite a few confusing plot holes, are twofold. First of all, we start with the narrative framing device of Mary Shelley, whose ghost begins the film with a monologue that, I don't mean this to sound as bad as it does, but it was the first thing I thought of. It reminded me of an Edinburgh Fringe show. I don't want that. It sounds really harsh, but I've seen some good ones. I've also seen some not so good ones. I want to linger on this just for a sec because it makes no sense and it really annoyed me the more I thought about it. We discussed this on the way home. Mary Shelley's ghost, who is also played by Buckley, somehow possesses 1930s rowdy good time girl Ida, splitting her personality just long enough to cause her to die violently. Thanks, Mary Shelley's ghost, you suck. And Ida gets resurrected by typical mad scientist Dr. Cornelia Ephoronius, I guess her parents hated her, played by Annette Bening, who has agreed to help drifter Frankenstein find a bride to cure his loneliness. So Mary Shelley is a ghost capable of possessing people, but she's not done it before. She just waits until Ida shows up for some reason. And Frankenstein, which, okay, yes, not real Frankenstein, Frankenstein's monster. For all you purists out there, the doctor was called Frankenstein, so I don't know why he's kept his name. But is a real guy made from other guys stitched together, so I guess they're going for like a thing here, and it just kind of didn't work. But that's basically the plot. And if you just keep that Bonnie and Clyde comparison in mind, it does work quite well. Let's have your thoughts on this before we get into some of the interplay and relationships.
Thoughts on where to start?
I mean, well, I think the term absurdist has been kind of applied to this, and I think did you feel that was pretty accurate?
Yeah. I was using words around that in my notes when I was pondering the film. Zany, bold, sort of a gritty surrealism is what Maggie, I thought it was Gyllenhaal, but
that's what I said.
We'll go.
Don't be
the
my
accent.
Oh my god! Do not be my French Duolingo app, which insists that I'm not saying the words that I'm saying.
It's your accent.
It's just French Duolingo is like, no, I hate you. That's not what you're saying, and I'm like, I am saying.
Remember that TikTok you showed me?
I did. Like
October.
Are you being German?
Okay.
October.
Listen. Okay.
Lies. Well, I have told you that.
Hey, I mean, let's get on to Christian Bale's accent in this. Yeah, it's interesting.
Was
not
it,
bad.
Was it Swiss? It
wasn't bad. It was something.
I sort of thought it was more like Hungarian, but
that's what it seemed like to me, but I'm not an expert.
Maybe he's just saying Swiss because it sounds sexier.
Yeah,
anyway.
Swiss. Okay. So let's start with the framing device. Okay, well, before I get into the framing device, I was like going to skip the film, remember, because I saw the trailer many times, and I thought it looked bad, honestly. And it was like, I just had this like instinct that I was like, this looks like it's going to be bad somehow, like it's going to not work. So it was better than I thought because I had this weird kind of aversion to the vibe going in. I found it entertaining, but it had a lot of holes that are unfortunate because it kind of just goes from being interesting as, you know, the Mark Kermode review who's like, oh, it's hot, but it's a mess. It's a hot mess.
It started off really strong. You know, it started off with some pretty clear goals and premise, and it does really lose steam. And sort of meanders a little bit.
I think it meanders. Okay, so the Mary Shelley device, the fact that it's framed around this ghostly Mary Shelley. I really liked Jessie Buckley in this film. Like, she's great. Like, she's great in everything. She's great as Mary Shelley / this reanimated person. As Mary Shelley, it's those scenes where she's like in the dark ether and is very like savage. Yeah. It was fun, but also a little on the nose. But it doesn't make sense unless you're saying that this whole story is a dream. It's a story. It's not real. She's writing it. The whole movie is like her story.
Or is she like taking over somebody in order to force, like a pawn, almost like possessing her to make her carry out the story that she wants to tell, in which case, but you were then responsible for a woman dying very quickly.
Oh yeah, she killed her.
You literally were you possessed her for all of 2 minutes before she died. Like, you're the worst possessor ever. You're not supposed to keep the body alive to do your possessing. She's like, oh, screwed it.
So yeah,
immediately.
The storytellers are saying, okay, we don't care about the reality or like the logic of this, but then it kind of makes it confusing. The backstory of the bride is both too much and too little. I think we agreed on that, and I'd love to know your thoughts. That, okay, if we kind of started off with her being this blank tabula rasa, I pulled that out, a la Poor Things.
Blank slate in Latin for people.
Yes.
People who don't know Latin.
Yes. So if it was like a Poor Things scenario where, you know, she's really a blank slate, but then there's this innate fieriness that comes out in her and need to rebel, that would be and this feminist rage. But then no, we're saying she's like experienced all this trauma in this past life and it's been set free, but we should either not know about it or we should be given more information. That's how I feel like it would have been more convincing. So otherwise you're just like, okay, she has this feminist rage and we're supposed to be on her side, but why? Other than like, yeah, you were kind of like a prostitute and that sucked.
I mean, yeah, kind of. Yeah, essentially, I think that's kind of what they're going for. And I agree. We talked about this a little bit in The Way Home. It doesn't really work in the way that we're chronologically presented with this narrative. And it would have, the things that then are revealed throughout the course of the film don't land in the way that you want them to. They don't land with the emotional punches. What would have been better is if we had been seeing a little bit like here and there through flashbacks. And people don't always like flashbacks, but I do think it would have worked here, of starting to see like why she was hanging around with these sort of gangster guys in the first place. She was a mall, like working for, someone else. It's like the whole point of her being there isn't revealed until so late in the film that you're kind of like, oh, I don't care. Like, I wish I'd known this earlier. I wish there had been kind of something leading up to this. And I also agree with your point that the feminist rage, while fun to watch, doesn't ring true because we don't know what she's raging against. The only thing that we know from the first few minutes is, after she gets sort of possessed by Mary Shelley's ghost, is Ida kind of flips between Mary and herself, and she's kind of not able to stop screaming out about this mob boss who happens to be in the same kind of bar as them. And there's clearly something that's gone on there, but I just don't think that it works because we didn't see this guy throughout the entire film. We never actually see him, or we don't even hear of him doing until like the very, very end, something misogynist. So I was kind of like, why are you so mad at this guy? Like, he's not specifically targeting women. And you end up starting like a kind of promising young woman vendetta, like that you start this craze where all the young women start doing this thing. And I'm like, but why? I just don't understand. Like, no one saw Bonnie and Clyde and went, oh, I want to be Bonnie, but I don't need Clyde. The whole point of it is they're a killer couple. Do you know what I mean? They're rebels on the run. They're doing like rebel stuff. They're killing people. It's whatever. But like the whole point of it is there should be this kind of couple vibe. You're looking for that other person, your partner in crime, quite literally. And that leads me to my second point here is that Bale and Buckley are both great actors, right? We agree on this.
Yes.
Yeah. I have no chemistry with each other in this film. I believe these characters existed. I did not believe that they were romantically attracted to each other or involved. The whole time I was baffled by it. I couldn't see it. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think we were discussing that. I don't know if I felt they had zero chemistry, but it's not a grand romance to me.
And Bonnie and Clyde was. That's the whole point, right? Yeah.
And if you're going to say, oh, it's a love story and like, oh, like in the end, like, it's like, oh, a lot about this is like that we love each other, right? That's driving us.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that. I believe you could care about each other, but ultimately it's more of a setup of her just being like, nah, I'm independent. I'm just gonna be doing my own thing.
Mm-hmm.
Reclaiming this life in this new way. And no, I'm sorry, I'm not convinced that they have a connection. So I have to agree with you in that way. But I felt like they were like good friends, maybe attracted to each other,
Yeah, maybe. I mean, they do bone, but like I just didn't buy the chemistry. I don't understand why what we're being shown is being touted as a love story when it doesn't feel that way at all.
And I will say, though, there's a lot that's really interesting about the film and so audacious and daring and unlike other things you may have seen. So, yeah, I mentioned Poor Things because it's nothing like it, but at the same time, there's that zaniness that, like, this is so out there and bizarre. So I enjoyed that they went for it, just even in the dialogue, in the tone, like breaking out into song. Frankenstein's monster seeing himself in the films that he's watching and obsessed with. So there's just a surrealness to it that is entertaining. Yeah, I'm curious people's thoughts. I think it's worth seeing. What about you?
I do think it's worth seeing. It's I really felt that you didn't have any expectations, as you said, for this film, and you went and you were pleasantly surprised. I had quite high expectations, and I was disappointed.
You were really excited.
I know. It's such a shame because I really thought, like, based on the trailer, that it was going to be something. And it just missed the mark a bit for me. That being said, it is interesting, and like I did sort of readjust my expectations quite early on, realizing like actually I think after the first monologue I was like, oh no, okay.
You knew what you were in for.
Yeah, I knew, because the thing is within that first
Edinburgh.
Honestly, tell me I'm wrong. The first Mary Shelley monologue, literally the first maybe 3 minutes, I realized that I was writing the script in my head. As every line she delivered, I knew what the next one was going to be, and I was like, oh no, I see where this is going. That's fine. Readjust and then just enjoy for the rest of it. But it's not. I could have written that script. You could feed me it line by line, and I could write you the next one because it's quite predictable and it's a bit corny at times. But that being said, it's very stylish. It is kind of like you let Baz Luhrmann watch Twin Peaks one time and then he couldn't stop thinking about it. You know?
Oh, good one.
There's a little bit of like. It's very stylized and zany, and I understand the comparison with Poor Things, even though it's a bizarre one because it's obviously thematically like not, but it is, yeah, it's worth a watch. We saw it in IMAX as well, so it felt a little bit overwhelming at times. So it was like a very giant screen, and we had free popcorn, free rotis. That was pretty good.
Yeah. So I was very full.
You were housing that.
Yeah, free popcorn.
Yeah.
Let us know your thoughts on The Bride.
Good exclamation mark. You know how I feel about punctuation. And here, I'll allow it. I'll allow it.
Hi, we're coming in to discuss Baz Luhrmann's epic Elvis Presley in Concert, which is a documentary film we just saw by Baz Luhrmann. And it follows Elvis Presley in his what was it? The Vegas era.
Yeah, the later years, the Vegas residency.
Yeah. So
Also,
I didn't
never knew
really
you pronounced it Baz.
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 I don't know. Maybe it makes you sound really posh.
We're a real fan of Baz and loved the 2022 Elvis, right? I mean, I think we thought it was really good.
Yeah, I liked
the
it.
film.
I mean, the thing is, I didn't actually know this was a Baz Luhrmann thing until I saw the credit come up, and I thought,
oh, you didn't?
And I thought, what in the Baz Luhrmann is this? Because it's very Gatsby coded. I mean, I've loved Baz Luhrmann since Strictly Ballroom, and of course Romeo and Juliet. So yeah,
of course. I enjoyed him in high school with the Moulin Rouge, but it's
actually my least favorite one.
Yeah, fair enough. So I wasn't really going to see this with you, but then I did, and I'm so glad. I'm so glad I decided to see it. It is not like anything you've seen before, or at least that I've been aware of, in terms of documentary meets concert film, with never before seen footage of Elvis, really giving you an intimate glimpse into his personality, his vibe, right? It's not like this whole exhaustive documentary of his life, but with this startlingly clear footage of his rehearsals, of him talking, and just a voiceover of him talking about his life, seeing him perform, right? It was like they were preparing for this documentary in the past. But this was all footage that was found, 35 millimeter and 8 millimeter footage. So basically, Baz Luhrmann was rooting around for his 2022 film, right? And apparently these film archives were found in the Warner Brothers salt mines in Kansas.
When you want to preserve something, you keep it in your salt mine. I keep all my important things in my salt mine. Don't you?
Oh, yeah, I should have.
And you want them to be dry and salty?
I went to the salt mines in Poland, and they were amazing.
That's really neat.
Yeah,
really
amazing. Cool. So there were just all of these performances that were just sort of like hidden away, but apparently they didn't have any sound, and they restored them over like several years with existing audio sources, and they found this 45-minute recording of Presley just talking about his life, his whole life story. Like all this stuff had never like really been seen before.
Would you say it was a salt gold mine?
Well, I don't even understand you.
It was yeah.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, I really enjoyed this. It was kind of magical. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was really interesting. I like a lot of Elvis songs. I grew up listening to a lot of Elvis. But there was a lot that I didn't know, not being like a super fan or anything, just a regular fan. I did not know that he did a cover of Simon and Garfunkel's Bridge Over Troubled Water, so that I like very much. What I really liked in this is Baz Luhrmann included this previously unseen restored clip of Elvis Presley singing "Oh Happy Day." Now, you will know because I have forced you at gunpoint range to watch Sister Act and Sister Act 2. Right? And they sing "Oh Happy Day" in Sister Act 2. It is one of the most important kind of turning points of the midpoint of the film. And to see Elvis doing this was wild. It was really exciting. So yeah, it was nice to see all this kind of archival footage. I kind of wish we'd got to see the salt mines in some way. In a way, like I like to see people unpacking it, but it's really unusual to see this from Baz Luhrmann because we think of him as being like a fictional feature filmmaker. He's not someone who ordinarily does documentaries. So I kind of, as soon as I clocked that it was him, I thought, well, we know what his style is, but how is that going to apply? But if Baz Luhrmann was going to do any documentary, Elvis seems like the right person. There is glitz, there is glamour, there is kind of, not high tension, but it is an unbelievably charismatic performer.
Wow.
In what kind of should be his least charismatic moments when he's with the band, but he is just charming. He's funny. He's always kind of joking around. Like you see that they look kind of comfortable with him. No matter who it is, he's always kind of like interacting with them. He never seems to treat them as like a tool. That's just the impression I got from these chosen bits of footage. But that was really nice to see like Elvis the person instead of like the performer. Although of course we get to see a lot of that too. Yeah,
it's both intimate and also this. You see, he is existing in this other plane. Like he's like with the charisma, with the star power. And I think you also see the problematic, pained side to him as well underneath. Just in all that charisma, and you know where it's headed, and just the way he's so full of talent, but there's just something like destructive behind his eyes, right?
Yeah, and maybe he's doing a lot of the joking around as a kind of defense mechanism between being too serious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering. Yeah,
But it's visually stunning. You don't even have to be a fan of Elvis to find this really exciting. So I highly recommend you go see it in theaters. And that's just my 2 cents on it. Yeah,
it
we
it was
recommend it.
absolutely worth seeing for
Yeah.
sure. Especially if you have, like we do, a Cineworld membership, and you can see any old thing. Sometimes you stumble on stuff that we might not have ordinarily gone to see this on purpose had we not had a membership. But I'm so glad that we did, and it really was one of the better films.
Yeah, I love musical documentaries,
Same.
and so this was wonderful.